Eckhart's philosophy is basically about the idea that the present moment is all we have. It's all there is and all there ever will be. And most of us live trapped or lost in the movement of thought. Sometimes I've spent 2 hours of my day thinking about one person I resent, you know, and going through orations and, you know, if he ever says this, I'll say that, and all of those things. And you go, I find myself now when I get caught up in something like that, becoming conscious suddenly and going, oh, wait, I'm here. I'm not with that person right now. I'm creating things that don't even exist, you know, and it's useless. It's time badly spent, you know.
I woke up and I suddenly got it. I understood suddenly how thought was just an illusory thing. And how thought is responsible for, if not all, most of the suffering we experience. And then I suddenly felt like I was looking at these thoughts from another perspective. And I wondered, who is it that's aware that I'm thinking? And suddenly I was thrown into this expansive, amazing feeling of freedom from myself, from my problems. I saw that I was bigger than what I do. I was bigger than my body. I was everything and everyone. I was no longer a fragment of the universe. I was the universe.
In the last years of the 20th and now the first years of the early 21st century, science is now giving us that reason for our logical mind to make the connection, to see how we're related and how we influence the world, and how by honoring that connection through our hearts, we literally have the power to influence the very fields of this planet to sustain life in the world, sustain the health and the healing and the well-being of our bodies. And it's all about the magnetic fields of the earth. Now, the reason this is so important to a scientist is because for 300 years, our science has been based on two false assumptions. The first false assumption is that everything is separate from everything else, that what happens in one place has no effect on what happens anywhere else, and if it looks like it does, it's only a coincidence. The second false assumption is that our inner experiences of thought, feeling, emotion, and belief have no effect on the world beyond our bodies. Based on those two false assumptions that have been accepted for 300 years by scientists, I can see why there would be a disconnect when they're looking at magnetic fields of the Earth spiking precisely the moment the human emotion of the planet is focused on a disaster. This led to a series of studies, and the bottom line to the studies is this. What they found is that it is human emotion, specifically the magnetic fields produced by the human heart during certain kinds of emotion, that now our document is extending far beyond our bodies into the physical world, and now to such a degree that our satellites hundreds of miles above the surface are able to pick these up.
What is the physics of consciousness? We can ask that question today. What is consciousness? Where does it come from? What are the origins of consciousness? What are the limits of human potential? We're in a position to actually answer that now, I believe, although there's certainly not consensus yet in the scientific community about that. But with the real cutting-edge knowledge, the discovery of the unified field, the so-called superstring field, we now understand that life is fundamentally one. At the basis of all life's diversity, there is unity. At our basis, you and I are one. And that unity at the basis of mind and matter is consciousness, universal consciousness. So with that deep understanding that consciousness isn't created by the brain, it's not purely an outcome of molecular chemical processes in the brain, but is fundamental in nature. It's the very core of nature. We call it the unified field. Now that we have that foundational understanding of what consciousness is, we can solve the mind-body problem. We can see how consciousness percolates up through our physiology to become the consciousness that we experience and see and sensory perception and all of that. So there is a foundation now to really link rigorously neuroscience with quantum physics.
There's so much good in the world. I always say to everybody, I'm amazed when people go like, the world is insane, man. It's crazy. It's out of control. It's like people are completely nuts. Like that. I look at this room and I see, 500-600 people. No one is bashing each other over the head. I am amazed at that. I am totally impressed with you people. Seriously, we live on a planet where we're very crammed together, and I think we do really well. It's just that when we watch the news and we watch entertainment, it's about people's conflicts tied together in the most exciting possible way. And you imagine that the world is this explosive, horrifying place, and the news is all this negativity condensed, and it really is not representative of what the world is or what the world wants. I'll tell you what the world wants.
Your mind is the universal mind. And the only way you access that universal mind is in the now. It's never going to be in the future. Negative experiences will repeat for as long as they remain useful to you. Well, then you have to say, what does useful mean? If something pisses you off, then you're getting use out of it because it's creating an emotional reaction. So if you can learn to have this ballet dance of karma, where experiences move through you without getting stuck to you, and you bless, and you release, and you forgive, and you accept, and you love, then more and more, those experiences won't repeat anymore because you're not going to get any value out of them. They won't have a catalytic value for you. So, the focus that you hold in your life determines how your reality turns out. And I'm sure everyone on this stage is living proof of the fact that you can intend an entirely different life for yourself.
It's our intention. Our intention is everything. Nothing happens on this planet without it. Not one single thing has ever been accomplished without intention. So I started thinking about my life, and I started thinking about this conference and what we're about, and I looked back and I thought, well, I was two people my whole life. I was in the living room entertaining people, being a monkey, doing my thing for the company, and trying to relieve my mother, who was suffering. She had rheumatoid arthritis and phlebitis and everything under the sun that was nagging at her, and she was depressed. And I wanted her to be free, and I wanted her to realize that her life was worth something because she gave birth to someone who was worth something. And then I would go into my room and I would sit with a legal pad. I was a little kid. And I would sit there and I would try to figure out what it meant, what it was all about. Why are we here? What is this? And one day I read something from Buddha that said that all spirituality is about relieving suffering. And I suddenly realized that's what I'm doing in the other room. and I'm aligned. You know, my purpose is aligned with this. So I felt incredibly lucky. I lose sight of that all the time. I get caught up in different concerns, ego concerns. But I'm so lucky to be a part of this community and to do something that is of value. And I really cherish that. And we are all one thing. It really is true.
When I was a kid, I brought relief to my family by taking their painful concerns and alchemizing them into comedy. And they enjoyed watching me play, most of the time. Later, my career in show business blossomed after I made the conscious decision to serve the audience what I thought they really needed to see. Someone who's carefree in the world and treats it all with a healthy dose of irreverence. Yeah, that's how I meant to say it. Since very early in my memory, the real thrill in my life wasn't personal recognition as much as knowing that I could affect people in a positive way and have fun doing it. Before I had money, I used to write "Have a nice day" on $20 bills and leave them where I knew people in need would find them. I didn't wait around to see their smiles. I just was satisfied knowing that for one brief moment, I might feel a little bit lucky. As time passed, my interest in people's welfare has grown. But for me, living in this world will always be a game, the object of which is to create as much goodwill as possible. I realize now more than ever that the most valuable commodity in life is the feeling you get when you give. Compassion is the currency that leads to true wealth. I created Better You so I could continue to expand my awareness of what people need, to relieve or prevent suffering wherever possible, and to offer a kind of assistance that allows people to grow towards independence and self-actualization, and a healthy dose of reverence. A better you means a better universe.